I'm back, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to tell you who's going to win the Stanley Cup, coming up next. Yo-ho, everybody, and welcome to another edition of YinzerOnHockey. Sorry I've been away for a little while, just had, some life things get in the way, and I had to take a little bit of a break, but we're back now, and we are going to tell you who is going to win this year's Stanley Cup. I know a lot of people do the division-by-division breakdowns. I'm not going to do all that. I'm just going to skip straight to the playoffs and tell you who I think is going to win the Stanley Cup. Feel free to argue with me in the comments below. Tell me where I'm wrong, where I'm right. But let's get right into it. In the Western Conference, I think the number 1 seed is going to be the Winnipeg Jets. And the number 8 seed is going to be the Calgary Flames. Both of these teams are going to rely heavily on coaching and scoring, but I think goaltending will be the difference in this series. I have Winnipeg coming out of this series, moving on to the second round. The other Central Division matchup, I have the Nashville Predators playing the St. Louis Blues. I think St. Louis is a very good team up front, a lot of center depth, and Nashville has a great defensive core, but I think Nashville comes out of this series in 6 games and moves on to the second round. And I think by the end of this first series, I think UC Saros is going to be the starting goaltender for the Nashville Predators. On to the Pacific Division, I have the San Jose Sharks winning the division. The addition of Erik Karlsson is going to be what propels them past the Vegas Golden Knights in this division. I have them playing the Dallas Stars, who I think is going to be the first wild card from the Western Conference. And I have San Jose winning this series in probably 5 games. On to the other matchup in the Pacific Division, I have the Vegas Golden Knights playing against the Los Angeles Kings, kind of a rematch of last year's first round bout, and I think it's going to play out very similarly as it did last year, where goaltending is going to be the key factor in the series. I think Jonathan Quick gets the edge this time through. Ilya Kovalchuk will give them the added scoring depth that they did not have last year and propels Los Angeles into the second round. On the Eastern side, I have the Toronto Maple Leafs being the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and I have them playing the Columbus Blue Jackets, who will be the number 8 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think the difference in this series will be just too much scoring firepower from Toronto, and Bobrovsky and his playoff demons. Obviously, a consistent talking point in Columbus, and I think this will be his last hurrah in Columbus, and Toronto will move on to the second round. The other matchup in the Atlantic Division, I have the Boston Bruins playing the Tampa Bay Lightning. This matchup is going to come down to who can score more, and I think at this point it's hard to argue with the forward group in Tampa. They will outscore Boston, and I think you'll see a lot of changes from Boston in the offseason after this, but Tampa moves on to the second round. In the Metropolitan Division, I have the Pittsburgh Penguins winning the Metropolitan Division. I still think that Washington, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, all very even. I think the difference will be Washington's going to have a very disappointing October, early November. It will take them a little while to recover from the offseason, and that will be the difference in this series, or in this division. Pittsburgh will play the Florida Panthers in the first round, who I think a lot of nice offseason additions, and I think Mike Hoffman will give them the extra scoring they need to get into the playoffs. But I think Pittsburgh will dispatch the Florida Panthers in approximately 5 games and move on to the second round. Washington, Philadelphia, I have Philadelphia hosting this series. Again, Washington's going to have that slow start, but I think they'll get in a groove, they'll regroup, come around, and they will be the better team come playoff time. Washington gets past Philadelphia in 6 games. Moving on to the second round, I think the Winnipeg Jets are going to surprise everybody and sweep Nashville in the second round. Again, too many goaltending question marks, I think, in Nashville in the playoffs, and that will be the difference in the series. Winnipeg moves on to the Western Conference Finals. In the Pacific Division bracket, I got the Los Angeles Kings and the San Jose Sharks. This is my upset pick for my entire bracket. I have the Los Angeles Kings defeating the San Jose Sharks, moving on to the Western Conference Finals. Kovalchuk, Jonathan Quick, Drew Doughty, just a lot of really good veteran pieces in place for Los Angeles. I think that gets them past San Jose, and I have the Los Angeles Kings playing the Winnipeg Jets in the Western Conference Finals. On to the Eastern Conference, Tampa Bay against Toronto. This series is going to come down to who decides to play defense at the right time. When you have two high-scoring offensive powerhouse teams, I think, it comes down to who plays defense at the right time. I think Tampa Bay has a better defensive core, and that's going to be the difference for this series, and I think that's going to get them past the Toronto Maple Leafs. In the Metropolitan Division bracket, I've got the Pittsburgh Penguins defeating the Washington Capitals this go-around. I just think I don't know what's going to be the difference in this series. Maybe it's goaltending, maybe it's scoring, maybe it's defense. Who knows? But I just think Pittsburgh is going to find a way to win this series and move on to the conference finals. In the Western Conference Finals, Los Angeles Kings versus the Winnipeg Jets. I think that Winnipeg is going to win this series. Probably going to be 6 games and go to the Stanley Cup Finals, where Canada remains hopeful that they can finally break that 25-year drought. In the Eastern Conference, the Tampa Bay Lightning against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think Tampa Bay is going to find a way to get through this series. Goaltending might be the difference in this series, and these are going to be two very good young goaltenders. They're going to be the talking point of the NHL as far as goaltending goes for the next 10 years or so. And I think that Vasilevsky has a little bit of an edge here over Matt Murray. I'm going to give that edge to Tampa, and I think Tampa will win the Eastern Conference. In the Stanley Cup Finals, I have the Winnipeg Jets defeating the Tampa Bay Lightning. I just like everything about Winnipeg right now. Their forward group, I think, is the best in the Western Conference. Maybe not the best in the league, but definitely the best in the Western Conference, in my opinion. Their defensive core is very good. They get solid, healthy goaltending from Connor Hellebuck, and I think that's what gets them past the Tampa Bay Lightning. My pick for Conn Smythe winner in this matchup, I think, is Dustin Byfuglien. I think he is going to win the Conn Smythe. His ability offensively to get pucks on net, as well as his defensive positioning, he's probably going to be like a plus 18 in the playoffs, and he's probably going to have, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 points in the playoffs from that defenseman position, and I think he is going to win the Conn Smythe. So that's my predictions, projections, everything about the playoffs, I think, coming this year. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think, how it's all going to play out in the playoffs. I'm excited to hear you guys' opinion. Open for debate in the comments. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe on the video. And until I see you next time, have a good day.